Here's a truth that changes everything once you see it. Your life is shaped less by your potential and more by the language that you repeat every day. The words you casually use internally and out loud quietly script who you believe you are and what you allow yourself to experience. Until your language evolves, your life tends to repeat. Different days, familiar patterns. This training centers on one idea. Change your language and your life changes with it. Before I teach you anything, I want to bring you into my world. There was a version of me before NLP whose language sounded like this. I can't do that. I'm exhausted. Things just never work out for me. This is just the way I am. I said these things casually, daily, without ever questioning them. They felt honest, grounded, even self-aware. And my life reflected that language perfectly. I stayed smaller than my capacity. I over-explained and people-pleased. I hesitated. I watched opportunities pass whilst telling myself stories about timing. And what matters here is this. I was motivated. I was reflective. I was committed to growth. And my life still felt heavy. Because my language wasn't only describing my experience, it was creating my identity. When I found NLP, I began hearing myself. And once you hear your language clearly, and you can make sense of what's happening beneath the surface, your relationship with yourself changes forever. Here's the piece that most people miss. Your unconscious mind works in pictures, sounds, and sensations. So every word that you use is creating an internal image, and your body responds to that image immediately. Let me show you. People casually describe experiences as terrifying. This conversation feels terrifying. Putting myself out there feels terrifying. That decision feels terrifying. Just pause for a moment. What does terrifying look like to you? For me, it's a shark rising from deep water, dark ocean, mouth open, teeth exposed, and that image calls forward an identity in response to it. Prey. Someone bracing. Someone preparing for danger. And here's the key. Your body responds to the image, never the context behind the word. Your heart rate shifts, your breath tightens, your muscles brace. This is how language shapes lived experience. So now let's bring it into the brain. Inside of your brain is something called the reticular activating system. Think of this like your internal filter. The RAS decides what gets through, and it filters based on your focus. That is, whatever it is you're thinking about consistently, whatever you speak about repeatedly, whatever your language highlights as being important. Your language trains your RAS what to look for. And when your language centers on struggle, your brain finds struggle. When your language centers on effort, your brain finds effort. And when your language centers on opportunity, your brain finds opportunity. This is why when you buy a new car, you suddenly see that car everywhere. The car existed before. Your focus is what shifted. What you focus on expands because your brain is designed to find more of it. And your language is what's directing that focus. Here's the honest part. When language stays the same, your identity stays the same. And when identity stays the same, life keeps looping. You keep journaling, you keep learning, you keep gaining insight, and still familiar triggers appear. Familiar hesitation arises, and familiar fatigue returns. Awareness creates understanding. Language creates identity change, and identity change reshapes your life. If you want a different life, you need a different identity. And identity begins with language. Here are 3 language patterns that quietly hold people in old identities. Word number 1, I'll try. This language rehearses effort without embodiment. It positions you as someone who circles action rather than inhabits it. You're basically saying, use as much energy as you can without actually doing it. Instead, upgrade your language to, I choose to, I commit to, I'm doing. Decisive language creates a decisive identity. You'll be amazed at how much more you get done, delegate, or start saying no to. Word number 2, you did great, but this word removes whatever came before it. Your nervous system and the person you're speaking to's nervous system experiences that subtraction. Instead, replace it with and. You did great. And here's what could elevate it. Using this means growth continues while identity and or that initial point stays intact. Word number 3, any avoidance language. Remember how I mentioned earlier that your unconscious mind processes pictures first? Here's how that works more specifically. If I say, don't think of a blue tree appears immediately in your mind and then you have to delete it. If the instruction involves removal, the picture still arrives first. Picture first, instruction second. So when your internal language sounds like, I don't want to fall behind, the image formed is failure and falling behind. And your reticular activating system will scan for evidence. That is, your mind will deep dive into the archives and remind you all about all of the times that you've failed or all of the times you've fallen behind. And it will scan your current experience for even more evidence. Instead, upgrade your language to, I'm focused on success. I'm building momentum. I'm moving forward with clarity. Now your brain starts searching for that. And all of a sudden, your identity follows. So, what you've done today is begin upgrading language consciously. That alone will create momentum. However, if this training is making sense and you're loving what you're learning, NLP is the next step. It works at a deeper level. NLP supports your evolution on so many levels. It supports the unconscious structures that generate language, the nervous system patterns that hold identity, the internal rules that are shaping your behavior. NLP trains you to be someone new first. So action towards your best self feels natural, aligned, sustainable. This is why we run our integrated NLP practitioner training. 7 days in person on the Gold Coast or live online. 7 days of upgrading your language, evolving your identity and training your focus, and creating a life that reflects who you're becoming. If something in you has been quietly nodding through this training, trust that nudge to lean in for more. Because when your language changes, your identity follows. And when your identity shifts, your life opens. If you'd like to explore NLP further, the next step is simple. Book a call. We'll talk about where you are, where you're headed, and whether this training supports that evolution. All of the details are below. And remember, nothing changes if nothing changes. Change your language, change your identity, and ultimately change your life.